So, Josh, you just mentioned, we just talked about privacy, just touch on it a tiny bit. There are a lot of concerns about privacy. I remember, yeah, actually at Quirks, one of the clients walked to our booth and they just really loved everything that we did, like loved the UI, loved the experience. But then they said the fact that you are an AI-based tool, I don't see how we can use you. So I thought that was quite a big statement. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, so I kind of get where people are coming from. It's a new big thing. There's a lot of uncertainty, and maybe people don't want to really commit unless they have a strategy for it. I don't think that entirely makes sense, though. I guess my perspective is we need to see just AI as it is another tool. And I mean, it's a particularly potent and potentially effective tool, but it is just another tool. And a lot of the concerns that people have about AI, maybe it has to do with data processing, in which case we can look to our existing frameworks such as GDPR to kind of analyze what are the implications there. Or it could be more concerns about how the tools are being used and what the potential effects are and what the outputs are. And I think, again, this isn't necessarily a huge concern if we center the usage of AI in human controlled systems. Like, we shouldn't be fully automating very important decisions with AI, just in the same way that you wouldn't fully, you wouldn't give an intern the ability to determine the fate of your company. You shouldn't give AI that ability as well. You should still have a knowledgeable human that's in the center and being able to use AI as a tool, and using it hopefully in an interpretable or an explainable way, but using it as a tool to inform their understanding of things.
So yeah, so that's interesting. So clearly there are concerns. It's almost like it could be a disadvantage to say this is an AI powered tool, but at the same time, if you pay attention to the developments in pretty much any industry, like everything now says that we have AI powered something. So now there's this new term, AI washing. I really quite like it. So then so it's almost like it's these two things. How do we reconcile these two things? On the one hand, there could be potential concerns for an AI driven tool. On the other hand, like everyone seems to want to embrace something AI. So yeah, that's quite interesting. These two things are happening at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. I guess from my perspective, maybe it's useful to even just like throw AI out of the conversation because, if you have a company that's talking about, oh, we're totally leveraging AI, everything that we do is now AI. I mean, that's great. They can talk about that, but you need to look under the picture underneath and see what's the actual value that that's adding. AI on itself, people can use it. Again, it's another tool. You can use it for all sorts of things. What
Mm.
really matters is that if it's making your life easier, if it's getting you better insights, if
Mm.
it's adding more value to your life and to your work.
That's actually it's progress. It's right now we're still at a time AI is very significant. It's almost like it needs to be identified. Just like a long time ago, every computer had this Intel inside on the computer, but we don't see that anymore because it's almost like it's irrelevant. So yeah, that's actually really interesting. So we should put AI outside of the discussion. It's the what AI can do that really matters.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the same with the concerns. Like, if you're concerned about AI automating decisions, well, if you just get rid of AI from that sentence, you should just be concerned about automated decisions.
Yeah, yeah. So back to the concerns. I have definitely seen certain industries seem to be more concerned than others. Do you think that's natural? Do you think that's necessary?
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. Like for me, the immediate example that always comes to mind is healthcare. And yeah, in healthcare, we should be sort of super cognizant about how data is being used and what the potential adverse effects are. So adverse effects is a term that's used frequently within healthcare. There's, legal requirements. If, for example, within a survey, if someone mentions certain bad things as a result of taking medicine, then healthcare companies have a responsibility to report on that,
Mm.
and to respond to that in a certain way.
Mm.
And also people can be sharing personal information. So
Mm.
those are things that we need to be especially cognizant of within certain industries. But it can be pretty general as well. Like I've heard people say that, just focus groups or in-depth interviews, they can ask questions that people are uncomfortable with. And I've also heard, maybe some fear mongering that AI could make that even worse. I don't necessarily see that as being the case. For me, it comes back again to this is a tool that we need to use in a wise and empathetic way. Humans can also make someone cry or someone really uncomfortable by asking an inappropriate question if they're not wise and empathetic. So we need to apply AI again in a wise and empathetic way.
Yeah, that's very well said. I agree. I think the same thing happens in in-person interactions. It really can go both ways. There are situations where the moderator or the interaction just didn't work. It doesn't work. It ends up with something not so pleasant. But there are also a lot of situations where the conversation is helpful. It's almost therapeutic. People enjoy talking to a moderator, enjoy sharing their experiences, emotions. And interestingly, we have seen similar comments from AI-led conversations, AI chatbot-led conversations as well. Some people feel like they can even open up more with AI moderator. So yeah, that's very well said. I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, I've been surprised as well by a lot of conversations. People are more comfortable talking to a computer sometimes. And I mean, it can go the other way as well. Like, if applied wisely, AI can be used to detect when those adverse effects are mentioned. So if people are talking about really negative consequences, if it's a human that's interviewing them, there is a certain amount of trust and dependence that that human's going to do their job. But if we've set up a system in such a way that if an AI detects anything that could be even potentially considered an adverse effect, then it triggers the appropriate protocol that it's supposed to trigger. So in a sense, there's even more kind of auditability that could be available there.
So it's really not just AI. It's the process. It's the design of the product. It's really not just the responsibility of the AI itself.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, like, if you just give people unfiltered access to, let's say, ChatGPT, then yes, it's possible that it could ask inappropriate questions. And, because maybe ChatGPT isn't specifically designed for healthcare, so it might not be appropriate within that context. So, if a healthcare company is using ChatGPT or some GPT-based technology, then they need to apply their legal requirements and their existing protocols to make sure that it's being used in a way that's compliant with that.